Editor Constantine stepping in for a second. This video is one that I made hours after I finished A Dance with Dragons. What is this? 4 months ago now. So if it's a little rough around the edges, that is why. I never posted it, or I posted it for like an hour, then took it down because I didn't know if people were going to take it because it's kind of a tough topic to talk about for a lot of people. But I figured it's not that bad, so why not? All that being said, enjoy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace. Jon Snow honestly kind of got what was coming to him, and I'm heartbroken. So today I finished A Dance with Dragons, and with that comes the death of Jon Snow. This was a moment that I was very much not looking forward to in terms of enjoyment, but I was definitely very interested to see how I would react to the Lord Commander's death in the books, and to my surprise, even though it absolutely broke my heart to see, I actually felt more sorry for Jon than I did angry, and I honestly really felt sorry for Bowen Marsh as well. You see, in the TV show, the main reason that Alistair Thorne and Ollie kill the Lord Commander is because of racism. They simply just don't like the wildlings, but Jon does, and he keeps letting them in, so they kill Jon. This is also made far more black and white due to the fact that Alistair Thorne was already a well-established antagonist for Jon's story. So what you end up getting in the show is a flat-out betrayal where men of the Night's Watch weren't only in the wrong, but were also flat-out cruel towards Jon Snow for a long extended period of time. In the books, however, the situation is far more nuanced, with Bowen Marsh, who is actually one of Jon's friends, crying when he stabbed him, and unfortunately, I actually think Jon's death makes a lot of sense logically, and I genuinely feel bad for Bowen Marsh in this moment. So, let's get into this. When you look at the situation from the perspective of a man of the Night's Watch, Jon Snow makes a lot of critical errors towards the end of A Dance with Dragons, and more than anything, his biggest error is just not being vocal enough about his reasons and never really explaining himself. But the first critical mistake that I want to go over that I believe he makes at the end of the book, even though he makes mistakes all throughout A Dance with Dragons, is letting in all of the wildlings and just expecting the men of the Night's Watch to allow it because he's Lord Commander and what he says goes. While I do agree with the logic that the Night's Watch will need the wildlings in order to win the war with the others, Jon expecting the men of the Night's Watch to break bread with the men and women that they were killing for thousands of years overnight was definitely a rash and bad decision. Especially given the fact that he didn't really explain himself too well and why he was doing what he was doing. He had like one conversation with Bowen Marsh and other men of the Night's Watch about it like one time, but other than that, he never really elaborated as to why he was doing what he was doing. But with that being said, the far bigger error that he makes in his final chapter was reading the pink letter and acting on the bait. The pink letter was quite literally Westerosi rage bait, and Jon Snow took the bait. I personally believe that this letter is a bunch of BS. I don't think Stannis is dead. I don't think Ramsay even wrote it himself, and we know that Arya isn't actually wed to Ramsay since she is Jane Poole, but unfortunately for Jon, he received this letter at a very frustrating and stressful time, and instead of thinking logically about what he had received, he cracked under the pressure. Jon's story throughout all of A Dance with Dragons is about letting his boyish feelings and desires die so that the man can be born. He also talks about this at the end of A Storm of Swords for a bit, but it's mainly in A Dance with Dragons. This is the main reason he doesn't accept Stannis' offer to become Lord of Winterfell, because he's trying his absolute best to put his duty to the realm over his own personal love and desires. And throughout A Dance with Dragons, he talks about the desires that he still has pretty frequently, and you get the sense that even though he's trying his best, Jon is a little in over his head, and deep down that boy is very much still alive. The boy who wants Winterfell, the boy who loves his family, the boy who wanted to ride south for his brother, is still alive. And that's why when he reads the letter, he says this and thinks this. Jon flexed the fingers of his sword hand. The Night's Watch takes no part. He closed his fist and opened it again. What you propose is nothing less than treason. He thought of Rob, with snowflakes melting in his hair. Kill the boy and let the man be born. He thought of Bran, clambering up a tower wall, agile as a monkey. Of Rickon's breathless laughter. Of Sansa brushing out a lady's coat and singing to herself. You know nothing, Jon Snow. He thought of Arya, her hair as tangled as a bird's nest. I made him a warm cloak from the skins of the 6 people who came with him to Winterfell. I want my bride back. I want my bride back. I want my bride back. And while for the reader this is kind of a hype moment, because we're finally seeing Jon let out all of his emotions about his family, when you take a deeper look at it, this is basically a meltdown of who Jon was trying to be this entire book. Ramsay's letter gets under his skin. It causes him to become overly emotional and forget his duty to the realm. Instead of killing the boy and making sure to be the best leader he can be here at the Wall, he decides that he wants to take his new army of wildlings that are also fueling his fire and march south to avenge his brother and his father and free his sister. And again, while this is definitely exciting and something I would love to see, this is a betrayal of his vows. This is a betrayal of his promises, and this is a betrayal of who he said he wanted to be all along. So with all that being said, let's look at this from Bowen Marsh's perspective. This kid, who you're not sure of his allegiance to begin with, is named Lord Commander in a kind of shady manner, and his first order of business is to let in all of the wildlings, which absolutely destroy the rations that you've been trying to keep going, and potentially put your life in danger since many of these wildlings are armed and do hate you. And then, not only that, Jon also wants to send more of your men to Hardhome to save more wildlings, and then the icing on the cake is your Lord Commander is just going to up and leave the Wall and lead a host of wildlings south to fight a war for his old home and younger sister, and then what? I guess just hope the whites chill out for a little before invading the entire world? Yeah, even though I absolutely adore Jon, this was a terrible, terrible decision to make. Now, one thing that's really important to note about Jon Snow and how I feel about the character is I don't think Jon Snow is betraying his vows by marching south. I think there is an unbelievable amount of reasons as to why Jon could logically come to the decision of marching south. Maybe you could say he's going to help Stannis win this war. That way he can rally all of the North behind Stannis. That way Stannis will come back to the Wall and help him fight the others. I think at the fundamental level, the Night's Watch's vows are there to stop the others and nothing more. And if some of those vows have to be stretched or pushed to their brink in order for that to happen, I think that's okay. The problem here, and the reason I kind of think Jon has what's coming to him and deserves what's coming to him, is the fact that he completely stops thinking about the others in this moment. The boy that he still is very much comes out, and he forgets about the others. He forgets about his vows. He forgets about his promises because he's just so enraged and so concerned and so filled with this love and this passion. Maester Aemon says, and I believe A Clash of Kings, that love is the death of duty, and this is that saying coming to fruition. Jon Snow has a duty to the Wall. He has a duty to his brothers of the Night's Watch. He has a duty to the realm, and he has a duty to defend all of this. But in his hardest hour, he chooses not to be the man and protect the realm. He chooses to go with his boyish instincts and try and protect his sister, to protect his family, to avenge his brother. And in all honesty, while I completely understand this, and I actually think this makes Jon a more compelling character overall, because it shows that he has a lot of flaws in him, it is really difficult for me to see what happens and not be like, damn, if I was in Bowen Marsh's position, I don't know if I would have done something different. I probably might have made that same decision from the outside perspective, because you have to remember, these people at the Night's Watch, they don't know Jon's thoughts. They just see him say a few words, then do these things, and from that perspective, this looks really, really bad, and because of that, I can't really blame them. But yeah, with all that being said, I finished Dance with Dragons today. I absolutely loved it. My second favorite book in the entire series. I might make a video ranking all the books and some of the chapters, but we'll see. But yeah, if you guys like this video and want to see more Song of Ice and Fire content, just let me know in the comments down below. Give me some video ideas, give me some thoughts. Let me know if you finished the series or plan on finishing the series. And yeah, I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.